My fiancée sued me for emotional distress after I dumped her for secretly accepting a job in Barcelona and planning a whole life there without me. Hey Reddit, so I'm Ethan, 35, and I just experienced the most mind-blowing betrayal. My parents always drilled into me the importance of hard work and self-reliance. They're good people, but looking back, maybe they weren't the most emotionally available. It made me a prime target for someone like Amelia. We were engaged, supposed to be building a life together. Then I found emails, Barcelona, a whole new life she'd planned and I wasn't in it. When I confronted her, she actually tried to spin it like a surprise. My family, they basically told me to get over it and support her dreams. Now she's suing me, emotional distress. Because I dumped her, am I crazy? What is even happening? It was a Tuesday night. I was working late as usual. Amelia was out with friends. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. I needed to look up something, some dumb recipe she'd been talking about. I swear I wasn't snooping. But then there it was, an email. Subject line, relocation package details Barcelona position. My stomach lurched. Barcelona, why Barcelona? I clicked, and my world imploded. It wasn't just a job offer. It was a whole damn life she'd planned. Apartment lease, school enrollment forms. School enrollment, we didn't even have kids. The emails went back months. Months of lies. Months of her smiling at me talking about our future while secretly planning to leave me behind. I felt like I was going to be sick. Nausea, dizziness, my hands shaking. I printed everything, every single email. I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't losing my mind. When she got home, I confronted her. The emails spread out on the table like a goddamn crime scene. At first, she tried the whole surprise routine. Seriously, a surprise move to another continent. When I pointed out the school forms, her face went white. Then the switch flipped. Suddenly, I was the problem. I was holding her back. This was her dream. How could I be so selfish? I called my parents, desperate for some kind of support. Their response, Ethan, there's more to life than work. You should be happy for her. Happy for her? She was abandoning me. They didn't get it. Nobody got it. I was alone, completely and utterly alone. I spent the rest of the night pacing, rereading the emails, trying to understand how the woman I loved could do this to me. It felt like my heart had been ripped out, stomped on, and then thrown back in my face. So after that bombshell of a night, I tried to talk to my parents again. Figured maybe they just needed time to process it all. Big mistake. I went over to their house on Sunday for dinner like we always do. Mom made pot roast, my favorite. It felt surreal, like nothing was wrong, but everything was wrong. We were clearing the table when I brought it up. Look, about Amelia. My dad cut me off. Ethan, we've talked about this. Amelia is a bright young woman with ambition. You need to be supportive. Supportive? She lied to me. For months. She planned a whole life without me. My voice cracked. I was trying so hard to stay calm, but the anger was bubbling up inside me. My mom chimed in, well, maybe if you weren't so focused on your work, you'd have noticed something was amiss. That hit me like a punch to the gut. So, it's my fault, because I work hard, because I provide, that's what you taught me. We taught you to be a good partner, Ethan, my dad said, his voice tight. And a good partner supports their significant other's dreams. Even if those dreams involve leaving them behind, without a word. I was practically yelling now. She was probably afraid of how you'd react, my mom said softly, like I was the unreasonable one. Afraid, she was deceiving me, manipulating me. She wasn't afraid, Mom, she was calculating. She didn't want me to have a chance to talk her out of it. My dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough, Ethan, we're not having this conversation again. You need to grow up and stop acting like a child. That was the moment, right there. Clearing the table, the smell of pot roast still hanging in the air. That's when I realized this wasn't normal. This wasn't just a disagreement. This was toxic. They were defending her, defending the woman who had systematically and deliberately lied to me, betrayed me. They were more concerned with protecting her ambition than with my pain. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. I just turned and walked out. Didn't say another word. Got in my car and drove. Drove until I found myself parked by the lake, just staring at the water. I felt numb, empty, like my own parents had just kicked me in the teeth. And for what? For some twisted sense of loyalty to the woman who had just destroyed my life. It was then I knew I was truly on my own in this. A week later, and things have gone nuclear. My parents, after effectively blaming me for Amelia's betrayal, decided to intervene. Intervene. As if I'm the one with the problem, they called a family meeting. At their house. With my Aunt Susan and Uncle Bob. Aunt Susan, the self-proclaimed relationship guru who's been divorced 3 times. Uncle Bob, who hasn't had a steady job in a decade. These are the people they chose to mediate my relationship implosion. Are you kidding me? It was an ambush. They sat me down, all somber and serious like I was some kind of delinquent. My mom started, her voice all shaky and dramatic. Ethan, we're worried about you. You've become so distant. Distant? I've been emotionally eviscerated by my lying, scheming fiancé who's now suing me and I'm distant. Aunt Susan chimed in, all saccharine sweetness. Honey, Amelia is such a lovely girl. Are you sure you've tried to see things from her perspective? I saw red. Her perspective, she lied, for months. She planned a whole life without me and you want me to see things from her perspective? My voice rose. I could feel myself losing control. Uncle Bob, bless his clueless heart, decided to contribute. Well, son, sometimes women just need a little space to pursue their dreams. You gotta let 'em fly free. Fly free to another continent without telling me. Dreams? She's suing me for emotional distress, Bob. That's not a dream, that's a nightmare. My dad, who'd been silent until then, finally spoke. Ethan, we understand you're upset, but you need to apologize to Amelia. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. Apologize? Apologize to the woman who lied to me and is suing me for emotional distress. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. I don't even know what I wanted to do. I just stood up. I'm done, I said, my voice shaking. I'm done with this, I'm done with all of you. And I walked out again. I'm staying at a friend's place now. Can't sleep, can't eat, can't focus at work. I'm starting to have panic attacks. This isn't just about Amelia anymore. This is about my whole family. They've chosen her side. They've turned their backs on me. I'm starting to think I need to go no contact with all of them. This is insane. I need help. I don't know what to do. So after that insane family meeting, I was a wreck. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, barely functioning. I finally broke down and told Sarah, a colleague, everything. We worked together for years, but I'd never really talked about my personal life. She's a bit older, been through a nasty divorce, and I figured, what the hell? I started hesitantly, so there's this situation with Amelia. Sarah, being the perceptive one, picked up on my tone immediately. Situation? Ethan, you look like you haven't slept in days. What's going on? I blurted it all out. The Barcelona emails, the lawsuit, the family intervention, the whole twisted saga. I even showed her the printed emails, the evidence of Amelia's betrayal. As I talked, Sarah's expression went from concern to disbelief to outright shock. Her jaw literally dropped. She's suing you for emotional distress, after she lied and planned a whole life in another country without you. I nodded miserably. Yeah, and my family. They think I'm the one who needs to apologize. Sarah just stared at me for a moment, then she said something that completely changed my perspective. Ethan, she said, her voice firm, this isn't about you. This is about her. This is about her inability to take responsibility for her actions. She's deflecting. She's manipulating. And your family, they're enabling her. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. Enable. That's exactly what they were doing. They were protecting her, making excuses for her at my expense. She continued, you're not crazy, you're not selfish, you're not overreacting, you're being gaslit. She's trying to make you doubt your own sanity and it's working. Gaslit. The word resonated. It explained so much. The self-doubt, the confusion, the feeling that I was losing my mind. Then she said something that really hit home. Ethan, your parents taught you to be self-reliant, right? They taught you to take responsibility. But sometimes that can make you a target for people who want to take advantage of those qualities. People like Amelia. I just sat there, taking it all in. For the first time I felt seen, understood, validated. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. I was a victim. And I finally realized it. Tears welled up in my eyes. I don't know what to do, Sarah. She put her hand on my arm. You need to protect yourself, Ethan. You need to distance yourself from Amelia and maybe even your family for a while. You need to focus on your own well-being. You deserve better than this. That conversation was a turning point. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I finally understood what was happening. And I knew deep down that I needed to fight back. I needed to reclaim my life. It was a seemingly innocuous Saturday morning. I was at Sarah's trying to piece my shattered life back together when the email notification pinged on my phone. It was from my bank. Subject, legal hold placed on account. My blood ran cold. Legal hold? What the actual F? I clicked. The email stated that Amelia had filed a court order to freeze my assets. Her reasoning? She claimed I was hiding money, trying to avoid paying her the substantial damages she was entitled to for the emotional distress I had caused. Substantial damages. Hiding money. This woman was delusional. I was barely keeping my head above water with the lawyer fees, and she was claiming I was some kind of millionaire trying to cheat her. I felt a surge of rage, hotter and more intense than anything I'd ever experienced. This wasn't about Barcelona anymore. This wasn't even about the lawsuit. This was about pure, unadulterated malice. She was trying to destroy me. Financially, emotionally, completely. My hands shook as I called my lawyer. He was as shocked as I was. "This is aggressive," he said, his voice tight. "She has no grounds for this. We'll fight it, of course, but this is going to get messy." Messy, messy? My life was already a dumpster fire and she was just pouring gasoline on it. I hung up the phone and just sat there, staring at the wall, numb, empty. Then something shifted inside me. The numbness gave way to a cold, hard resolve. This was it. The final straw. I was done being the victim. I was done playing nice. It was like a switch flipped in my brain. The fear, the self-doubt, the guilt, it all evaporated, replaced by a single, burning thought: I will not let her win. My chest felt tight, but this time it wasn't panic, it was power, a sense of control I hadn't felt in months. I stood up, my legs steady, my mind clear. I called Sarah. "I need to come in," I said, my voice firm. "We have work to do." That email, that blatant attempt to cripple me financially, was the catalyst. It was the moment I stopped being a passive participant in my own destruction. It was the moment I decided to fight back, with everything I had. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I would win. Okay, Reddit, buckle up. This is where things get interesting. After Amelia's pathetic attempt to freeze my assets, I went into full-on war mode. No more Mr. Nice Guy. No more letting her and her flying monkeys walk all over me. First, I gathered everything. Every email, every text, every bill, every piece of documentation related to our relationship and the lawsuit. I organized it all into neatly labeled folders, both physical and digital. Think color-coded, cross-referenced, the whole 9 yards. I even created a timeline of events, detailing every lie, every manipulation, every instance of gaslighting. This wasn't just for me, it was for my lawyer. I wanted him armed to the teeth with irrefutable proof of Amelia's BS. Next, I brought in the big guns, not just my lawyer but a forensic accountant. Amelia thought she could hide her financial shenanigans. Think again. This guy was a bloodhound, and I gave him full access to my accounts. I wanted him to dig deep, find anything and everything that could be used against her. Turns out, she wasn't as clever as she thought she was. Let's just say there were some discrepancies in her financial records. Jackpot. Then I started building my support system. Sarah was my rock, my confidant, my voice of reason. She listened, she validated, she reminded me of my worth when I started to doubt myself. I also started seeing a therapist. I needed to unpack years of emotional baggage, the stuff that made me vulnerable to Amelia's manipulation in the first place. This wasn't just about winning the lawsuit, this was about rebuilding my life. My strategy was simple: no contact with Amelia and her family. Every communication went through my lawyer. I refused to engage in their drama, their guilt trips, their attempts to make me the villain. I was done playing their game. I also started preparing for the mediation session. I knew it would be a bloodbath. Amelia would be there with her lawyer, ready to tear me apart. I wouldn't let her. I practiced my statements over and over with Sarah and my therapist. I focused on staying calm, staying factual, staying in control. I would not let her rattle me. I would not give her the satisfaction of seeing me break down. I would be a brick wall, an impenetrable fortress of facts and truth. The emotional preparation was the hardest part. I had to confront my own insecurities, my own deep-seated fear of being alone, of being seen as a failure. I had to forgive myself for being manipulated, for being naive. I had to accept that I deserved better, and I did. I deserved a partner who loved me for who I was, not for what I could provide. I deserved a family who supported me, not enabled my abuser. By the time the mediation rolled around, I was a different person. I was stronger, more confident, more determined than I had ever been. I was ready. Bring it on, Amelia, I was ready to fight. The sterile conference room felt suffocating. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, reflecting off the polished table. Amelia sat across from me, looking like a ghost of her former self. Her lawyer, a slick, sharp-dressed woman, sat beside her, a barely concealed smirk playing on her lips. My own lawyer sat next to me, a reassuring presence. The mediator, a tired-looking man in a rumpled suit, sat at the head of the table, radiating an aura of barely contained exasperation. The air crackled with tension. I could feel Amelia's eyes boring into me, but I refused to meet her gaze. I kept my eyes fixed on the mediator, waiting for him to start the proceedings. I'd rehearsed this moment countless times, visualizing every possible scenario. I was ready. Mr. Davis, the mediator began, his voice flat, Ms. Rodriguez claims you have caused her significant emotional distress, leading to professional and reputational damage. She is seeking substantial compensation. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, showtime. With all due respect, I said, my voice calm and steady, Ms. Rodriguez's claims are not only baseless but a blatant attempt to deflect responsibility for her own deceitful actions. Amelia's lawyer scoffed. Deceitful actions? My client simply accepted a job offer. Hardly a crime. A job offer she concealed for months, I countered, while simultaneously planning a life in another country, complete with housing and schooling for non-existent children. A life that notably did not include me, her fiancé. I slid a copy of the printed emails across the table, the paper rustling in the silence. These, I said, my voice hardening, are just a small sample of the evidence I have documenting Ms. Rodriguez's elaborate deception. Amelia's face paled. Her lawyer snatched up the emails, her eyes scanning the pages, her smirk fading into a thin line. This is taken out of context, she stammered. Context? I laughed, a short, sharp sound. The context is that you lied, you manipulated, you betrayed me, and now you're trying to extort money from me because I dared to call off the engagement. The mediator cleared his throat. Mr. Davis, please refrain from personal attacks. This isn't a personal attack, I said, my voice rising. This is the truth. She never loved me. She loved the lifestyle I provided. And when a better opportunity came along, she discarded me without a second thought. Amelia flinched, her eyes darting nervously to her lawyer. The lawyer, now visibly flustered, opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. And let's not forget the lawsuit, I continued, my voice dripping with sarcasm. The lawsuit for emotional distress filed by the woman who systematically and deliberately deceived me for months, the woman who tried to freeze my assets out of spite. I turned to Amelia, finally meeting her gaze. My voice softened, but the steel remained. Amelia, I said, you can drop this charade. We both know the truth, you're not a victim. You're an opportunist, and you've lost. The power shifted in that moment. The air in the room thickened, the tension palpable. Amelia's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Her eyes, once defiant, now filled with a mixture of panic, and was that shame? She looked at her lawyer, who avoided her gaze, her face a mask of professional detachment. Then she looked back at me, her voice barely a whisper. I want to drop the lawsuit. The words hung in the air, heavy with defeat. The mediator looked surprised, my lawyer looked satisfied, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me, followed by a sense of profound satisfaction. I had won. Not just the lawsuit, but something much bigger. I had won back my self-respect. I had reclaimed my voice. I had finally stood up for myself. And it felt amazing. It's been 6 months since that mediation session. The silence, after years of Amelia's manufactured drama, is deafening. In the immediate aftermath, there was a flurry of activity paperwork, legal wrangling, the slow, agonizing process of disentangling our lives. Then, blessedly, nothing. Amelia dropped the lawsuit, packed her bags, and slithered off to Barcelona. Haven't heard a peep from her since. Good riddance. The fallout with my family, however, has been complicated. My parents, still firmly entrenched in denial, haven't apologized. They maintain that I overreacted and misunderstood Amelia's intentions. We are not on speaking terms. It hurts more than I care to admit, but I know I need this distance. They enabled Amelia's toxic behavior, and until they acknowledge that, there's no room for reconciliation. Sarah, on the other hand, has been a lifesaver. She's been my constant support, my voice of reason, my friend through the darkest of times. She even helped me find a new apartment, one with no ghost of Amelia lurking in the shadows. We've become incredibly close, and I'm eternally grateful for her friendship. Seriously, find your Sarah people, they are gold. Therapy has been intense. It's like peeling back layers of an old wound, exposing the raw, tender flesh underneath. I'm learning to recognize the patterns of emotional neglect that made me vulnerable to Amelia's manipulation. I'm learning to set boundaries, to prioritize my own needs, to value my self-worth. It's hard work, but it's the most important work I've ever done. My career, surprisingly, it's thriving. Without the constant drama and emotional drain of the relationship, I've been able to focus on my work with renewed energy and passion. I've even taken on some new projects, challenges that would have seemed overwhelming before. It turns out, when you're not constantly putting out fires in your personal life, you can actually accomplish quite a lot. I'm still single. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm not ready to jump back into the dating pool just yet. I need time to heal, to rebuild, to learn to trust myself again. I'm focusing on my friends, my career, and my own personal growth. I'm learning to enjoy my own company, to appreciate the quiet moments, to find joy in the simple things. This whole experience has been a brutal wake-up call. It's taught me the importance of self-respect, of boundaries, of honesty in relationships. It's taught me that being alone is 1,000 times better than being with someone who doesn't value you. It's taught me that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the friends who show up when your world is falling apart. And most importantly, it's taught me that I am stronger than I ever thought possible. So, Reddit, what are your thoughts? Have you ever experienced a similar betrayal? How did you cope? Any advice for navigating the treacherous waters of family drama? Let me know. I could use the wisdom of the crowd.